It's your guy Josh back again with another video, and as you see, we're covering Fallout New Vegas, or not this New Vegas, but season 2 of the Fallout TV show. And I gotta say, it's absolutely going crazy. I really enjoyed this episode. We're gonna get straight into the breakdown, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed it, getting all the lore bits. And like and subscribe. Also, shout out to Bethesda Studio. Make sure you're working on Elder Scrolls 6. Appreciate it. So we start off in the past where there's a Robco protest happening because basically everyone's like, these robots are taking our jobs, yada yada yada, typical stuff. And then Robco, the actual man himself, is in a bar out here hyping up himself. The people are like, yo, who is this guy? It's Robco himself, by the way. Self-worth on point. We love it. We love it. Then they try to take him outside, do the typical we're gonna beat you up now type thing before he turns the tables, and it's pretty cliche. Then the Robco goes, hey man, punch me. They punch him. It's kind of weird. It's really, really weird. But then he opens a trunk full of cash, and this would be a red flag. Time to leave. I don't want to be here anymore. He then goes and says, hey, I need you to put this little miniature thing into the back of your skull. Mind you, this would be the time I'm out of here. We don't need to be here anymore. He's like, look, I'll give you the cash. You put this little tiny thing in the back of your skull. Mind you, I think through basic anatomy, I would definitely leave. He ends up getting it into the back of the guy's skull. And look, he gives him a bat. And at this point, why are these two people still here? It's time to leave. And you know what? It turns out great. The other guy, he gets mind controlled, obviously, turns out to kill the other two people. It works out great for him, but then it kind of malfunctions, blows up the guy's head. Pretty tragic stuff for the guy. Well, everyone all around except him, the rich guy. But overall, you know what? He says progress is progress. And I gotta say, I respect that. And I gotta say, to start off, this is a great opener. Personally, we get introduced to the main character, the person we're going to be with throughout the whole season, and that's fantastic. We get to see kind of the motivation, how it's going to tie back into later into the episode. So I gotta say, pretty much a great start for me. So we are going to be breaking down each sort of section. So we have the present, the past, and the vaults. That's what we're going to be doing. It'll be separated. We'll have each sort of character arc together, and hopefully that suffices. But we're just winging it for now. We're chilling, talking, and we're going to start with Lucy and the ghoul picking up at the end of season 1 where they are chasing down Lucy's father. And I gotta say, it starts off and it's not looking good for the kid. He's getting strung up by the Novak people. If you played Fallout New Vegas, you'll know who these people are, or the area itself. It's not looking good for him. He's hanging, and it's not looking good. But overall, we move on. And Lucy is up top at a vantage point, and she just doesn't want to kill these people. She wants to be true to herself because, mind you, season 1 I don't think is like a long span of time, so it seems like Lucy is still in her, like, she's awakened, but she's still fighting the urge to become these outside people, and she's trying to hold herself to a better example than the people outside. She wants to be a vault person, but as you know, if you come out of the vault, you can never be the same once you leave the vault. And it's just a very interesting dynamic between these two, and it seems like they're gonna rub off on each other throughout this season, where he's gonna learn to be more mellow and chill and kind, and she's gonna be more hardcore, and she's gonna try her best. But they're following Hank, and Hank is just going through the desert, running, and I don't know how long it takes within the power armor because it seems like they're tracking him pretty well. But overall, they find a fleet station, and she is trying to be kind. Originally, the ghoul wants to kill the person, just say, hey, let's question them, take out your gun. And she's like, no, I'll just talk to them like a normal person. Good job, Lucy. And she drinks flea soup, by the way. Absolutely terrible. Should never do that. That's absolutely insane. But there's a discussion of justice and what is justice actually, and those concepts don't exist anymore, which is a very interesting topic that they're discussing, where like the concept of what justice is and being good and being better doesn't exist in this world anymore. In the world of Fallout, as you well know if you played the games, those concepts don't exist. Also, they stumble along Vault 24, which was a canceled vault within Fallout New Vegas, and they are going inside, and it's very interesting because the ghoul knows and has a lot of information, but it seems like he doesn't want to tell Lucy, but he does want to tell Lucy at some points. It's very interesting because I really enjoy the character. And once they go inside, obviously, and they go inside and they find that it's a whole bunch of people being turned into communists, or I think it's communists, and like at the time it was Russia at the time, but overall it's interesting. And they use the little devices at the beginning of the episode to try to convert people, but it's not working. Their heads explode, like you see. And then Lucy's dad leaves a message with the little device thing saying, "Go home, Sugar Bomb, don't stay here." And like before, in the beginning of the episode, the guy's head explodes, and she sees the true cruelty of her father and the humans before the war. And that's going to be kind of interesting, her seeing the people before the war and how they acted, especially her father. And yeah, it's just an interesting dynamic to see Lucy just discover how cruel her father can be, his disconcern with life, his thinking that he's better than the people on the surface. It's very interesting. And he ends up going to Vault Tech, and it turns out, I think he's working for Robco. He's like a double agent within Vault Tech, or he made an agreement or something before the war, which hopefully we get to see in the pre-war timeline. And as you can see here, the experiments aren't working. They are just not working. And he's like, "Look, I'm gonna get it done for you, sir." I'm assuming he's talking to Robco. It seems like they've done like a miniaturized, is that the right word? The miniaturized thing, where that seems pretty interesting, where it seems like they're trying to put it in people, maybe through chips. It seems like there's a high-tech facility, and pretty much all he says is he wants a promotion, which is kind of crazy. He's doing all this for a promotion, which is like, it still shows he's back in the mind space of like pre-war or pre-bomb era, where he just wants a promotion even though he lived his life in a vault. Kind of crazy. Overall, I really enjoy this timeline, or the present timeline. Let's call it the present timeline. The present timeline is very interesting, very good. It provides context. Usually I don't like prequels, but overall we're going to be getting into the prequels section after we talk about the vault. And yeah, but overall I really enjoyed this plot line. It's very interesting. Hopefully we get more interesting bits and Easter eggs. Speaking of Easter eggs, let's get into the past plotline, which is the most interesting plotline to me. But as we start off at the end of season 1, the ghoul finds out his wife is planning to nuke the world. And hey guys, what do you do when you find out your wife's gonna nuke the world? You go and grab your kid and you get out of there. And he's having a mental breakdown because your wife's planning to nuke the world. It's the most insane thing. And he's driving away and he sees the Vault Tech guy, who's the Vault Tech spokesperson from Fallout 4, which you would know if you played the game. But if you didn't, well, he's a Vault Tech guy who's knows him and they know each other. But he ends up meeting with Maldavers, who's dead in the present, alive in the past. And it's just an interesting character that I'm still so interested in her. We still have so much to know about her, but they meet up, they talk, and he's like, "Look, they're planning to nuke the world." She's like, "I knew about it." And you're like, "Whoa, how did you know about it?" She has so much information that I don't understand. But she's like, "Look, your wife's going to New Vegas, the cold fusion particles there. Robco's gonna do like a whole thing to like missile silo who has the capacity to nuke the whole world, XYZ. We need you to go kill him," essentially. And he's like, "I don't know about this one." But she's like, "Look, your wife's going on a trip." He's like, "Fine, I guess I'll do it." And the thing is, he gets outed eventually. So it's like, how do we go from that to this? And it's just like, So he ends up going back home, and he's just having an existential crisis. And she is too. And like the wife is like, "Oh my gosh, I just plan to nuke the world." I'm like, she gets to be the one who lives, and it's just a more interesting dynamic. And he goes home and he says, "Welcome home," puts a smile on his face, even though you know your wife just planned to nuke the whole world. And I gotta say, shout out to the ghoul, man. He's a strong guy. He's a strong guy right there. And I gotta say, this is probably the most interesting plotline to me. The present is interesting and cool, but this one is just like, how do we get to the Fallout world? It's just, what is happening in the past? Who plots? The dynamic. This solves so many key pieces of the game. How do we enter the world? And I really enjoy this. And it's just so awesome and interesting. And we're gonna move on to the vault plot line now because I think this is probably the weakest, but it's getting interesting. It's getting interesting. So starting off, just talking about the interests of what's happening within Vault 33, and then we'll go to Vault 32 and 31. Betty White, I'm just gonna call her Black Betty White, is having issues solving the water valve the issue that's happening, because remember, it got damaged in the attack, and she's just like, look, I need to fix this so people can have water. And remember, she's originally from Vault 31. I don't know if she was old or if she aged, I don't know. But then we go cut to Vault 32, and people are already kind of discomforted there because everything's the opposite of Vault 31 or 33. And she's like, bruh, I can't help you with that. And Chet's there too. Chet's like, yo, I have this baby, it's not my baby. And she's like, look, he's like, look, I want a job. I want a job. You need to give me a job. And she's like, you have a job. You're taking care of my kid. That's what your job is. And you're going to do that. And then she puts down the knife menacingly. And she's like, are we having an argument? And he's like, no, we are not. Okay, it is what it is. And I'm hoping that he grows throughout the season, because you got to stand up to your big mama, man. And remember, the vaults are built on communication through the overseers, who are all 31 members. And communications are down because our boy Norm in Vault 31 has pretty much cleared it out. He's destroyed all the comms. Neither of the vaults can communicate. And Mr. Big Brain over here is just like, look, you need to hop in your dad's pod, bro. You're gonna die. I'm gonna turn off the lights. Just hop in your dad's pod. Everything will be Gucci. We'll release you when it's time to go out into the world. And it's just not looking good. Then we cut back to Vault 33, where they're trying to, I don't know, man. This is just a weird plot line. Hopefully they just throw it out the window. These two definitely want to have incest babies. That's all you need to know. They're like, look, we try to have incest babies. We're trying to change the rules. This girl describes allergies because she's like, my dad had allergies of dust, so I have dust allergies. Insane. But either way, we cut back to Vault 31, and Norm is just struggling. Bro is down bad. He's like, look, what am I gonna do? And Mr. Brickbrain gives him the idea that he has like two rational choices, and he's like, look, I'm not gonna be rational. I'm just gonna release everybody. That's what I'm gonna do. And he starts the process of releasing all the people in the cryotubes, and we'll have to see how that goes. So like I said, couple interesting factors of how the vaults are going to be. Are they going to leave the vault? Are they going to stay? And that's pretty much the only interesting thing that happens. And I gotta say, that is all that happens. Hopefully it becomes more interesting. That's it. That's all I got. The vault plotline is kind of mid, but overall I'm interested. It keeps me attached. It's good comic relief, and that's pretty much it. But overall, for the episode in general, I would have to give it at least 8 to 9 out of 10. Picks up right where we left off. Nothing really stops. You don't feel like it's been a season. You feel like you've just taken a little break. Mind you, it did come out in April of last year. Now we're getting the season in December of this year. So they're pretty good. They're making pretty good pace. Overall, I really enjoyed the episode. So comment down below what you guys think. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, if you liked today's episode, well, the episode that came out on Wednesday, but you know what I mean. But yeah, that's pretty much all. That's pretty much it. So if you made it this far in the video, appreciate a like, comment, and subscribe. And hopefully you enjoyed the vibes.